Hello and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are breaking down Ethereum's next huge evolution, the Fusaka Upgrade. We're going to get into exactly what it is, why it is such a critical step, and most importantly, what it means for you. So let me just start with a question. What if Ethereum could massively expand its capacity, handle 8 times more data than it does today, and do it all without sacrificing its core principle of decentralization? Well, that's not some far-off dream, it's the central promise of the Fusaka Upgrade. All right, so mark your calendars for December 3rd, 2025. That's the target date for Fusaka to go live. Now, this isn't about flashy new features that you're going to see in your wallet. No, think of this more like a deep, foundational engine tune-up for the entire network. It's all designed to make Ethereum faster, leaner, and a whole lot cheaper to use, especially for all those Layer 2s that are handling most of the auction these days. To really get why this tune-up is so important, we first have to look at a challenge that's actually a result of Ethereum's own success, what we call the data availability problem. Okay, so it all comes down to these things called blobs. You know, Layer 2 networks like Arbitrum or Base? They work by bundling up thousands of your transactions and then posting a kind of summary back to the main Ethereum network. And they do that inside these data packets, these blobs. It's a really efficient system, but the sheer amount of data is creating a new headache. And here's where we hit the bottleneck. Right now, every single computer, every node that helps run Ethereum has to download the entirety of all this blob data just to check that it's all there and valid. As Layer 2s get more and more popular, this is creating a massive data traffic jam. It makes running a node really expensive, and that's a problem because it risks pushing out the little guys and centralizing the network into the hands of only those who can afford the heavy-duty hardware.
So, how do you solve a massive data traffic jam? Well, with a much smarter way of checking the traffic. And that's where PeerDAS comes in. It's the headlining feature of Fusaka, and honestly, a truly elegant solution to this whole scaling problem.
PeerDAS just completely rewrites the rules. So here's how it works. Instead of making every node download the whole blob, the blob first gets split into tons of tiny little pieces called cells. Then each node just downloads a few random samples of those cells. It's kind of like confirming a huge book is complete by just reading a few random sentences from different chapters. Thanks to some really clever math, if a node can successfully grab those few random samples, it has near-perfect certainty that the entire blob is available on the network, all without anyone having to download the whole thing. It's brilliant.
And the result of this? It is a monumental shift in what Ethereum can handle. By taking this huge data load off of individual nodes, PeerDAS could, right out of the gate, let the network process up to 8 times more blob data. This isn't just an improvement, it's a massive leap forward.
And hey, don't just take my word for it. Ethereum's own co-founder, Vitalik Buterin, has called PeerDAS the key to Layer 2 scaling. This is the foundational piece that's going to let that whole Layer 2 ecosystem grow like crazy without breaking the back of the main network that secures it all.
But hold on, Fusaka is so much more than just PeerDAS. It's actually a whole package deal with about a dozen key improvements, what we call EIPs, that bring more power and better tools to everyone on the network.
Let's look at a few of the other big wins here. First, EIP 7951 brings in passkey support. This is huge for user experience. It means wallets can start using your phone's Face ID or fingerprint sensor instead of those scary, easy-to-lose seed phrases. We're also getting a gas limit increase, which basically means more transactions can fit into each block on the main network. And to keep things running smoothly, there's a new cap on how much gas a single transaction can use, which stops one person from clogging up the whole network.
Another really clever addition is something called BPO forks. You can think of these as small, lightweight software updates. Instead of having to wait for another massive upgrade like Fusaka, these little forks let developers easily tweak just one thing: the number of blobs available. This gives Ethereum a super flexible way to add more space for L2s as needed, letting the network adapt to demand way faster. In fact, they've already got a couple of these mini upgrades planned right after Fusaka goes live.
Okay, that's a lot of technical detail, which is fascinating, but let's get down to what really matters. What does all of this actually mean for you, whether you're a user, a developer, or someone helping to run the network?
So for most of us, the biggest benefit is going to be cheaper and faster transactions on Layer 2s. It's simple supply and demand, right? With way more data space available for networks like Arbitrum, Optimism, and Base, the cost to use that space goes down. That means your everyday activities, swaps, mints, you name it, just gets more affordable.
Now, if you're a developer, Fusaka is a total game changer.
Suddenly, with all this cheap data, it becomes possible to build way more complex apps on-chain. We're talking about things like fully decentralized social media or complex games that were just way too expensive to even think about before. And with tools like passkeys, they can finally build apps that are both secure and actually easy for normal people to use.
And for the people who actually run and secure the network, the node operators, this is a massive win. PeerDAS drastically lowers the hardware requirements to run a node. That makes it easier and cheaper for regular folks to participate, which strengthens Ethereum's decentralization. It ensures the network is run by a wide, diverse community, not just a handful of big players.
So, what's the game plan for getting all this rolled out? And what's next on the horizon for Ethereum? Let's take a look at the road ahead.
So they aren't just flipping a switch here. The rollout is being handled very carefully. Throughout October of 2025, Fusaka will go live on 3 major testnets. These are basically practice runs to let developers kick the tires and make sure everything is rock solid before it touches real money. Assuming all those tests go well, the target for the mainnet launch is December 3rd.
Now for the question that I know is on a lot of people's minds. With a huge infrastructure upgrade like this, what does it mean for the price of ETH?
Well, while any big network event like this can stir up some short-term price movement, that's really not the point here. Fusaka's all about playing the long game. The real goal is to strengthen Ethereum's fundamental value by making it more scalable, more secure, and more accessible. A healthier network is a more valuable network. That's the core belief.
And the work doesn't stop with Fusaka. This is a huge step for sure, but it's just one part of a much bigger roadmap. The very next major upgrade, which is codenamed Glamsterdam, is already being planned for 2026 to keep building on these new foundations.
When you boil it all down, Fusaka is more than just a software update. It's the foundation for the next generation of Web3. It's the groundwork being laid to welcome millions of new users and developers into this ecosystem. Which really leaves us with one final, very exciting question. With a faster, cheaper, and more powerful Ethereum, what will they build next? I'd love to hear what you think. If you have any questions about the Fusaka upgrade, just drop them in the comments below. And if you found this explainer helpful, do me a favor and hit that like button, and be sure to subscribe for more deep dives into the world of Web3. Thanks for watching.